As soon as we're back out in our yard, yep, we get company.
Dandelions, lurking crabgrass, and wheat-thin grass. But the all-new Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action takes care of them all. Now, with one bag, you can kill weeds, prevent crabgrass for up to 4 months, and feed for greener grass. Triple Action, so your lawn thrives, guaranteed. Only from Scott's.
Weeds aren't welcome here.
This is a Scott's Yard. Pick up a bag of Scott's Triple Action today.
Welcome into the latest edition of espnfc. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Shaka Hislop and Stevie Nicol. Gab Marcotti was due to be in London today, but because of what happened in Italy, we had to get him here in the studio to talk about this extraordinary comeback. Remember, it was Barca 4, Roma 1 in the first leg at the Camp Nou. The SBI had Barca as 98% to advance. But wouldn't you know it, Roma win the game by 3-0 to advance into the semi-finals, Barcelona out of the Champions League. And in doing so, Roma adds their name to a very short list of Champions League historians. You had Depor in 2004 that did it, Barca in 2017, and now the 2018 Roma side become only the third team in the history of the competition to come from a 3-0 deficit to advance to the next round. Wow. And it wasn't like Alisson had a worldie and made all these amazing saves and Barca were knocking down the door every moment. Roma deserved this.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. And, you know, going back to the first leg, it was obviously a much closer game than the 4-1 scoreline suggested. I think this is a game where Valverde got everything wrong, where Roma got everything right, and where Messi and Suarez really made no impact whatsoever. And, you know, Messi's allowed an off night time and again. I think what would concern me is where's the supporting cast? Where are the other people who are going to step up and make a difference? Should Dembele have been on the pitch sooner? There's no question Valverde on this night was thoroughly outcoached by Di Francesco, who changed the game, went to a back three, did all sorts of things that Valverde had no answer for.
This is unbelievable, Steve.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with Gab. You can look at the players and say, you know, they have to be responsible for turning up. But let me tell you, when you're the coach of a team and you have such a big lead, the only thing you have to get right is to make sure that when they step on the field that you've got them motivated and in a frame of mind where they start the game well, take advantage, and you don't have these situations. That is 100% down to the coach. Because in a game like this, that's the only thing he should be making sure happens.
You take a look at it, Shaq, and obviously we talked there about the Barca game against PSG last year, Depor against Milan. This eclipses both of those, doesn't it? Because Roma were given no chance, and they shouldn't have been given a chance because of the quality of this Barcelona side.
I think the big difference between certainly this game and the one 12 months ago between Barcelona and PSG is that from beginning to end, Roma deserve this. Now, you could look at Barcelona's comeback against PSG and talk about the last 10 minutes and what should have been and shouldn't have been. Should have been a foul and we could go on and on. But this, with Roma, from minute one, this is a team that knew they had nothing to lose and played like it, and then got the game by the scruff of the neck and just totally dominated and fully deserved. Barcelona didn't have a sniff. You're right to point out Alisson didn't have anything to do. Lionel Messi stood over a couple of free kicks, didn't do a whole lot with those. Largely untested, the Alisson between the sticks for Roma. Fully deserved, you have to say.
If we have to do one of our painted combined 11s ahead of this game, I don't think any Roma player would get into that 11. You've got Lionel Messi as well. How does this happen?
Well, I think again, Roma have to be at the best. They have to start well. They have to get the goal, which they did, and they have to have somebody. You know, we're always talking about Messi. He's the game changer.
Sure.
No question who the game changer is today. Edin Dzeko.
Yeah.
He was absolutely man-mountain. Titi and PK had no idea how to handle him. They couldn't handle him physically. They couldn't pick him up when he was making his runs. And, of course, you've got to finish. And my goodness, his finishing was there today.
Gab, on a scale of 1 to 10, where does this rate?
Well, let's not forget, Roma did play a European Cup final a few years ago.
Well, that was, 1984?
Well, no, if you're talking...
Gab, I played in that.
Gab is trying to be
Gab, I was in that game.
Gab is trying to be all modest here, right?
Don't downplay this.
Never mind that. When the game's going on, Gab is going crazy on the sofas in the green room. Now all of a sudden you're trying to be all calm.
No, but
you can't be cool about this.
I think because of what you saw in the first leg, because Di Francesco was brave in the second half, making changes, playing Patrick Schick, who's, let's face it, been kind of a dud this season. So you have another big option coming in from the wing to take some of the pressure off. Dzeko, he made a lot of moves that could have really blown up in his face, and he did that after first 90 minutes when Roma were certainly not 3 goals worse off than Barcelona. So you put those things together, and it's tremendous. I mean, I would argue probably one of the greatest nights, if not the greatest night in Roma's European history.
There we are. We got there in the end. We managed to get
Gab's version of it was a 10. It's a 10.
How come they're so good at home? You look at their record in the Champions League; it's phenomenal, especially even if you compare it to domestically.
That's one of those mysteries. I mean, they haven't actually conceded a goal at home, and some of those, they haven't always played well at home. Atletico Madrid, they were really, really lucky. Alisson, and by the way, can we end this? Alisson is one of the top 3 or 4 goalkeepers in the world, and there's a reason he's ahead of Ederson. Sorry, City fans, for the time being anyway. Ederson can be number 1A. But I think in the Champions League, he prepares for games better. We saw him, I think, outcoach Antonio Conte as well in the group stage. I think what happens is in Europe you play more teams that try to play with the ball more and will come at you more. A lot of teams have gone to Rome this year, sat back and hit them on the counter and hurt them. Maybe that explains it.
Meanwhile, from a Barcelona point of view,
disaster.
Huge disaster.
Absolute disaster. We've been sitting talking all year how they haven't played well. So the fact they didn't play well in this game is not a huge surprise. But the fact they never turned up, the fact they weren't competitive, because all those games they've had all season when they managed to win is because as much as they weren't brilliant, they were competitive. This is the first time since Valverde's got there that the team has turned up and just hasn't been competitive.
I'll give you a stat, or 2 things for me stand out about Valverde. One is he played Semedo at right back again, with Sergio Roberto further forward. Same thing he did in the first half, when clearly, despite the fact that they won, it wasn't working. The other thing is, Roma go to 2-0, and he still doesn't make any changes. He waited for Di Francesco to make changes before he made changes. I don't understand that. You're at 2-0. You're 2-0 down. You're 1 goal away from going out. You're playing horrendously. Do something.
We've given Barcelona a lot of credit under Valverde this season in the way in which they're a different type of team, but just as effective. Were we a little bit too quick to jump the gun on them? Were they not maybe as good as we thought?
Listen, I still think this is a very good Barcelona team. Let's not take that away from them. This result doesn't change what we've seen and what they've done all season long.
But is the problem is if Messi has a bad day, everything goes wrong?
Yes, that is quite clear. And not just Messi having a bad day and you asking other people to step up and they didn't. I think in many respects, Roma didn't allow them to step up. How many times, every time Barcelona get the ball, Roma press high up the park. If you get by, we foul. Maybe it could have cost Fazio more daily, as you mentioned, but that was happening time and time again. And you could almost hear Barcelona fans screaming about how physical Roma were, kept forward. I don't care. That's what Roma need to do. Step in. Don't let you find that rhythm. Don't let you dictate the pace of this game. Now, Barcelona had 55% possession, or more than Roma, but a whole lot less than what you are used to seeing Barcelona have. So they don't allow Barcelona to play their game. Messi is a little bit less than superhuman, and all of a sudden, this is the result you have. And I think this is more credit to Roma than it is a criticism of Barcelona.
And virtually all that possession for Barcelona came at the end, because, I mean, the graphic flashed up on screen at one point, I think it was around minute 60, Roma, it was 52-48 to Roma. Now, if you want to underscore how Valverde has changed Barcelona, not necessarily for the worse, but in a game like this, when you're 2-0 up, you've got players who can keep the ball. This wouldn't have happened under Luis Enrique or Tata Martino, or certainly not Pep. They would have said, you know what, we're going to defend our lead. We're going to make the pitch big. We're going to make you come after us. And we're going to make you foul us. And we're going to be patient. They couldn't do that. You know, they ended up with 55% because everything came at the very end when Roma were just sitting back and defending.
This obviously takes the win massively out of what was, up to now, a really successful season for Barcelona. La Liga and Copa del Rey. But this, how do we assess it? Is it a success?
I mean, let's see what happens in the Copa del Rey final as well, and what happens in the Clásico too, because, look, Barcelona are going to win the league, but, I mean, I think this is stuff that's going to weigh into how Valverde is judged. And the warning signs were there. We've said they haven't played well in a while. I go back to this. I wrote this on the website. Those 2 legs over Chelsea, you know, they got through because Messi stood on his head again, did something unbelievable, and Chelsea made massive individual errors, and many of them. But otherwise, you know, it could have taken a different turn. For whatever reason, this 2-legged format, Valverde's, you know, he's had two bites at the cherry, and he got it wrong both times.
Look, if you'd asked this question in August, that you win the league and you get to a quarterfinal of the Champions League, Barcelona fans and Valverde would have taken that.
But then, obviously, you throw in, you're 4-0 going into the second leg again.
And you go out to Roma.
The narrative changes because you see Real Madrid struggle first half of the season. You've won the league by Christmas, and you have a dominating position going into the second leg of this quarter-final. But as much as we may criticize Barcelona, let's remember where we started, what the discussion was in August. Happy with how things have went, disappointed with the Champions League. But all in all, you take it, given, as I say, where you started.
Barcelona had one of the most memorable games in the history of the Champions League last year. Unfortunately for them, that's getting pushed to the side. Now it's going to be, OK, you won that game, but this game, you collapsed. And people are going to remember that.
And when we were sat here after that game, we ripped into PSG, absolutely murdered them. We seem to be giving Barca more of a pass.
I'm not so sure we are. I think simply because all we've said on this show is that we know they're not as good as we would like them to be or have been. And PSG, we were talking about the team that's now going to take over. They're going to go ahead of Barca. Because they've signed Neymar, they're going to go ahead of Real Madrid. This was a narrative going into that last season. This is a completely different animal.
But having said all of that, when we had a conversation on Sunday who would win the Champions League, you went for Barcelona. The expectations were still high.
Why wouldn't you, though? This is a team who have just got it done consistently. So there was no reason for us to try and be clever and say, oh, there's no way they're going to win it. You know, they're going to collapse. There's no way they're going to be able to hold on to a 4-1 lead. I mean, you couldn't do it. Unless you get a crystal ball, you couldn't do that.
But that is why this is surely such an epic collapse.
Yeah, it really is because, I mean, look, they became favourites going into the draw, partly because Juventus were playing Real Madrid and because Manchester City were playing Liverpool. So even ahead of this, they became favourites. But you know what? If you watch them play, and weirdly, you know, after Dembele came back and after they signed Coutinho, I argue both in La Liga and certainly in Europe, they haven't hit the heights that they hit in the first part of the season. You go back to the Clásico before Christmas. That was one of the, maybe not the only game they played really well, but it was one of the last games where we really saw them firing on all cylinders. And, you know, I'm sorry, Iniesta's getting older. Suarez, I thought tonight, didn't show up at all other than rolling around for 3 minutes at one point. You know, Messi needs a supporting cast. You know, everybody needs a supporting cast.
You take a look at it, and it's not good reading for Barcelona fans because this is the third consecutive season in which they've been knocked out at the quarter-final stage of the Champions League.
Ryan! I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Well, welcome back. Of course, in the other semi-final, Manchester City against Liverpool. All the drama, everyone's focus was kind of on there, and it was dramatic. Jesus opening the scoring early on. But in the end, it was Salah's goal in the second half that really took the air out of Manchester City's sails, and it's Liverpool advanced to the semi-finals. Stevie, you look at this 2-1, you think, Liverpool got the job done, no problem.
Yeah, but I can assure you, as a Liverpool fan, I was not sitting comfortable in my chair. The worst possible start, and actually the worst possible start, and a start that was all about the referee, because it was a horrendous decision not to give a foul against Sterling on Van Dijk, and of course City put the ball in the back of the net, and for them, they couldn't have dreamt of a better start. So from there till Salah scores his goal, I'm in turmoil, I can assure you.
For Liverpool fans, of course, the Salah goal, the turning point. For City fans, they could argue the Sané disallowed goal was a game changer, just on the stroke of half-time. Incorrectly disallowed?
Yeah, I thought it was an atrocious decision. No question that Sané's onside when De Bruyne first plays the ball. Then it's Karius who punches the ball into Milner, regardless of whether he intended to play it or not. It's totally irrelevant at that point. And the ball ends up in the back of the net. Right before half-time, you think of how different the emotions are for City. Of course, Pep Guardiola gets himself sent off and the brouhaha afterwards. And City can just never find their feet again in the second half.
If the goal stands, who goes through?
Oof. It's an impossible question to answer. If the goal stands, not only does my blood pressure go through the roof, but I think Liverpool start the second half in a completely different mindset than the way they did. And of course, Manchester City, they would start with a completely different mindset also. So that goal changes that, and that's a huge decision to get wrong.
They would also start with their manager doing his job on the bench rather than being up in the stands, because that what we saw there from Pep, and this had been coming before the game. You know, Pep Guardiola has a history with Mateo Lahoz. He kind of came out and said, sort of hinted at it ahead of time, and you know, when you have a situation like that, it's you live it almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Listen, if I'm a Manchester City fan, I really am, and a lot of people would say to me, if I was a City fan, it's sour grapes. I thought the referee was atrocious in this.
Right.
Some of the decisions he got, for me, City could have had a penalty against Robertson on Sterling.
Maybe two.
But so many other clear fouls that he just played on that affected the whole outcome of the game. I thought the referee was atrocious. And I'm glad we won the game, and I can say that, because I'm sticking up for City fans. I thought Pep was unlucky to get sent off, but I can understand why he was going absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think that's saying that, you know, I think over 180 minutes, I think Liverpool still deserved to go through.
Sure.
But you look at this game, history's going to record this as City's third consecutive loss in all competitions and blah, blah, blah. But on the night, you know, I thought Mateo Lahoz was all over the place, and I thought Pep, you know, should feel hard done by.
It's not good when you take a look at Pep's resume over the last few seasons, considering what he's achieved at domestic level. It has been a bit of a letdown on the Champions League front. You take a look at it, you have to go back to the 2010-2011 season for the last time that he won a trophy. That was, of course, Barcelona. Obviously, Twitter being Twitter, and there are a lot of idiots out there that are diminishing Pep's achievements, saying, oh, there you go, he's rubbish. But how far do we have to address his failures in the Champions League when talking about him as one of the greats?
I think you have to take it in the bigger context of Pep Guardiola as a manager. He plays attacking football and doesn't change. It works wonderfully well when you've got the best player of a generation at your disposal. I think when you don't, you've got to be a little more tactically adept. He took over the Champions League winners in Bayern Munich, didn't really deliver on or continue in that vein. And now, despite the spending, you go to Premier League opposition. I still think he's one of the best managers in the game today. But if you do want to go further in the Champions League, I just feel you've got to adjust at times.
I mean, I think there's almost two different histories here, because last year they went out to Monaco. They were overwhelming favorites before the Monaco game. That was also a game, crazy match, dubious refereeing decisions on both sides. This year we saw what happened. Before that, and I'm sorry to go back to this, when he was at Bayern and he was getting knocked out in the semifinals, in my opinion, in at least 2 of those 3 seasons, they did more than enough to win those games. I don't think you can look back and say, they deserve to go out. This year and last year against Monaco, I think is different. I think for whatever reason, he got it wrong.
You know what? He's brave. People always talk about, if you look at a team, they kind of mirror the manager. This is exactly what you get with Pep Guardiola. At Barcelona, he did go on and win the Champions League, playing a certain way. Is he ever going to win it again, playing that way? The only thing you do know is that he's not going to change. And I think you've got to give him credit for that. But I'm with Shaka. You've got to adjust. You can't just go all-out attack from the start to the finish unless you're as good as that Barcelona side. And the chances of that happening are very, very small. Sorry.
He changed it tonight. He put Bernardo Silva on the flank. He switched to a back 3. This idea
but it was attacking. It was open attack.
You're 3-0 down from the first leg. Of course you got to attack.
But right? You're 3-0 down because of the all-out attack. Look, I have no problem with the all-out attack. That's how Pep Guardiola is. Yeah. That's how he always will be. You don't. Similarly, I think if you start adjusting every time you come up against tough opposition, you don't win leagues by 18 points or whatever it is the Premier League gap is right now. But, you take that, you take the good with the bad. You run away with your domestic league, but when you stumble in the Champions League, similarly, you could point at some of those same approaches as being at fault.
So Manchester City, who are one-stage favourites to win this competition out of the Champions League. Liverpool, of course, through to the last 4. According to the bookies, they're third favourites behind last year's champions at Real Madrid and the Bundesliga winners, Bayern Munich. Spoiler alert, Real Madrid have been very good in the Champions League over recent years. In fact, 2010, 2011, since then, they've either reached the semi-finals or indeed been crowned the winners. They will be in action against Juventus. 3-0 the scoreline after the first leg. Second leg at the Bernabeu. Oh, look, 98% Real Madrid to advance. Juve coming in at 2%. The same, of course, as Barca were. What? The same for Bayern and Sevilla as well. Bayern 98% to advance, just 2-1 of course, going into the second leg at the Allianz Arena. Sevilla coming in with little or no chance. So, who we'll be talking about on the next edition of ESPN FC. Be sure to join us as we'll, of course, be discussing both of those games. Let's take a look at the SPI then to go through. Barca, 98% to advance.
Where did they find the 2 from?
To the semi-finals. That game on April 10th in Italy. Roma coming in at just 2%. Of course, very much have it all to do. Where did the 2 come from?
Because they're at home.
You said it. I'm not making up a question. You just said it. Where did the 2 come from?
I've been known to talk to myself and ask him some questions. I've had some time to think about it.
Since the game.
Final thoughts, gentlemen? It's obviously all about Roma Barca.
I'm more concerned about Stevie watching Liverpool play. That was positively scary.
If you had one of those things called, Gam, that measure the blood pressure.
Blood pressure measuring.
No, it's only got a medical technical term to it.
Thank goodness Liverpool went through, because I'm not sure we'd have survived.
What if they got knocked out on like a bad refereeing decision?
This would have been very difficult.
I'm not sure any of us would have survived.
I don't think so.
I could have come down with something.
Well, yeah, indeed. All right, thank you very much, everybody. ESPN FC returns to your screens tomorrow. We'll be talking, of course, more Champions League. Until then, goodbye. Welcome to Extra Time. What a day. Gab's here even. Makes it even better. Moment for us all. I'd like to take you back, if I may, to December the 7th, 2017. This tweet was sent to Steve Nicol. Will Stevie come to extra time as Zorro if Liverpool reach quarter-final, semi-final of the Champions League? Let's see Stevie's response. There it is! Thumbs up.
Oh, I meant to do it the other way around.
Time to fulfil the promise. When can we expect this? Stevie as Zorro? That's not bad. It could have been worse. It could have been, you know.
They had a tattoo of Mo Salah on your arm.
Exactly. It could have been a tattoo, head shave. A night with Burley. You know, it could have been a lot worse.
When is he Zorro?
A night with Burley. That makes dressing up as Zorro seem like a piece of cake.
Exactly. So when's it going to happen, Stevie?
I've no idea. I didn't know about it until 20 minutes ago when...
Don't you remember the responses to tweets? Why would you not remember that?
One's from December.
I can't remember what I did 2 days ago.
We'll have to arrange
remember what I tweeted.
An appropriate, updated, tailored Zorro costume for...
Well, there we go. I'm sure the internet can provide that. Marvellous.
Amazon shut down. Amazon shutting down, they said. I heard.
Who said that?
I heard they're not delivering anymore.
Oh, no, that's all right. We can send someone to go and pick it up.
Yeah, the government said no drones allowed anymore.
Right.
We're not delivering anything.
Right. No,
price of gas.
It will happen.
There's no
We'll set out
vans.
for you, Sam. No problem. Who is the biggest loser from tonight's Champions League games, Coutinho or the SBI?
Well,
how's Coutinho's temperament, do you think? How's he feeling?
I'm sure his temperament is great.
Coutinho, regardless, ain't getting a medal anyway. So who loses out?
Well, Coutinho could be in the Champions League semi-final if he stayed with Liverpool.
The SPI is used to being wrong and all. The SPI is like, yeah, it's just another day.
The funny thing is, that in the realm of hypotheticals,
yes,
with a fit Coutinho, presumably he would have started, right?
Don't do hypothetical.
Well, that's what we do quite a lot.
You know what? I tell you what, I used to sit with the rest. For 10 years, I would sit and people would sit and throw hypothetical questions at me.
What was it? What word?
Hypothetical questions.
Not hypothetical.
I don't live in the hypothetical, by the way.
All right.
All right.
Where do you live? You don't even know where you live. Yes. I got an Uber with you. You didn't know where you live.
By the way, what was the reason for that?
Stevie, you're not going to answer the question about whether...
Hypotheticals, no. I don't do hypotheticals.
Right, I'll ask you then.
Okay.
If Coutinho had been there, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain had not been, do Liverpool knock out City over 2 legs? Do they play the same way?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Do you still think Messi is better than the King of Europe, Cristiano?
You're looking at me for you know my answer.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you've changed over the last 10 minutes.
I'm pretty sure if we go over, there's a guy sat over there who'll probably agree with that.
What?
No, because he never thought Messi was better in the first place.
Because he didn't win the World Cup.
He hates Messi.
I don't know. What's the question?
I don't know
Do you
what
still
you're
think Messi is better than the King of Europe,
about.
Cristiano?
Can we go with this? Listen, 2 different players completely.
Yes.
In my opinion, Messi is an artist.
And what's Ronaldo? What job has he got?
No, he scores goals and he's power, his pace, all those things. He doesn't play the game the way that Messi plays the game.
He won't be playing the game at all in the Champions League.
I just happen to like and prefer the way that Messi plays. Doesn't mean that Ronaldo's not fantastic, because he is.
Lover, Steve, that's all.
Shaka,
Yeah.
this is at you, actually. How will you grade City's season?
How do I grade this season?
Yes.
I'd say give them a passing grade.
I would hope so.
Really?
Is that it?
Oh, Shaq.
That's how I grade. I don't know.
I would hope
understand
it's
what the question.
What, A, B,
not a
C,
pass,
D,
no.
E, F?
A, B, C,
Not
D?
a pass or a fail.
I'd still get an A. You win the league, you get an A.
Do you not get an A minus for what I just happened?
They won the League
Oh,
Cup.
hold on.
Hey, what about A+?
They're getting an A.
A+! Why not?
A.
What would they have got if they won the Champions League?
A plus.
There you go.
Got it in you. Why didn't you tell Gab it's Pocket Square Tuesday? Honestly, I thought you'd be better hosts while he's here in the studio.
That's right. Nobody
Now,
told
before
me.
we do this, can we just zoom in to Steve? If we is that possible if we could just get...
You can't give him it. Some things are better kept under wraps.
So, Steve.
Some things are better kept under wraps.
Stevie. Can I?
So you just. You've got some things are better kept under wraps. I mean, what else you want me to say?
So we shouldn't give the.
No, I don't think so. I think that we should keep that.
Yeah, we shouldn't mention.
No.
No.
Yeah, don't mention. Don't mention.
They can't help
We
it. Look
tell
at
Gab. We tell Gab after.
After. Correct.
Don't mention.
Don't mention.
It's your pocket turned inside out.
So Gab. What happened was all these numpties would come in with all these stupid
Pocket squares.
handkerchiefs and square, and bits of cardboard, and everybody's got all kinds of rubbish. Bits of cardboard cut out like a handkerchief. So I'm having a laugh. I thought, you know what? I'm going to pull the inside of my jacket out and give it all that one as if I've got the old handkerchief.
Would you like to try that, Gam?
Is it sewn up?
There we go.
Or would you prefer a piece of cardboard?
Yeah.
It's sewed in.
No.
Let's put get a piece of cardboard, Stevie.
Right.
I go back to my old origami class.
This is our last.
You are an
question.
artist.
Can you do it a bit quicker?
Well, ask another question while I'm doing it.
There you are, lad.
Look, see, Jack has done it quicker.
Oh, nice.
There we go. Beautiful.
Perfect.
There
I
you
feel
go.
like I'm
See?
part of the fraternity now.
No, perfect.
Gave your secret away, Steve.
As you can't keep a
See,
secret.
I know.
For the life of me.
Honestly, you couldn't show him a nest.
Nothing.
You know when you were a kid, there's certain people you could never show a nest. He's one of them.
Can't show him a nest.
Is nestless an acronym for something?
You just can't show Dan a nest.
What is a
I guess
nest?
that kind of tells the different
serious?
eras we grew up in.
You don't get the reference?
No, not at all.
Think about it, Dan.
What?
It's not that. Stevie can figure
I
it
would
out.
show
I'm
you a
sure
nest.
can too.
You would show me like a bird's nest?
Oh, you're getting there. Well done.
Why would you? Why?
Well, because you tell everybody and we'd steal all the eggs.
I'll just go to the supermarket for your eggs.
No culture, that boy.
I have to admit, I never heard
Absolutely
that before in my life.
no culture.
I never heard that either, Dan.
Don't ever tell me about your nest.
I'm not telling you where my nest is.
Don't you? And don't even mention your nest, Gab.
All my eggs. My
Brian
nest.
will be here tomorrow. Brian McBride. I wonder what he makes of Stevie's nest. You can join us 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News.